Within the past couple of weeks, we've gotten a better idea of what the war in Iran is going to end up costing, and even if a ceasefire manages to hold, it still doesn't look good. Energy prices are forecast to jump 24% this year, and fertilizer prices are looking at a 31% increase. Then there are other issues beyond what's happening in the Middle East that could drive up prices too. Trade issues with China could make certain things much more expensive or harder to get in the coming months, and here at home, farm-level beef prices are already 16% higher than they were last year, and unfortunately things are probably going to get worse before they get better. So today we're going to talk about items that preppers should buy before June 1st, 2026. First thing we'll talk about should surprise nobody, and that's fuels, specifically diesel. The U.S. Energy Information Administration forecasts that diesel peaked last month at $5.80, but will average $4.80 for 2026. It's important to note, though, that those numbers are based on the assumption that the Strait of Hormuz will experience a gradual reopening, and if that ends up not happening for some reason or another, then prices could continue to go up. The price for diesel is already up around 41% from where it was before this whole mess started, and diesel is important for preppers mainly if, say, you live on a farm and you have tractors and other pieces of equipment that use it, or if heaven forbid you have a big gigantic diesel pickup truck, then, bless your heart. And then also, there are some generators out there that use diesel, but usually those are the larger, more industrial models. Most of us just either, might have a gas generator or some dual fuel that runs on gas and propane. But if you're going to be storing diesel to hedge against further price increases or just to have a stash on hand, then you do want to add something like Pri-D to it. I think that should extend it to 3 years. And regardless, you do want to rotate it just because things like gasoline and diesel, they don't have infinite shelf lives. After that, we have Coleman Fuel, also known as white gas, and the issue with it is that it's basically just refined naphtha. Like other petroleum products, it's produced in refineries that are currently being affected by lower amounts of Gulf crude oil. And if you're a prepper, you're going to want to have some of this on hand if, say, you have those old style like Coleman camp stoves, Coleman lanterns. And the good thing about those, even though they're a little bit more old school, is that the fuel does have a multi-decade shelf life if it's stored properly. Then after that, we have ammunition and also components like primers and gunpowder. And the big issue here is with antimony, which is basically what hardens bullet cores. And unfortunately, China controls around half of global mined antimony. And their December 2024 export ban on that and also other things like gallium and germanium is only suspended until late November of this year. Then on top of that, they're also a big supplier of nitrocellulose. I think around 70% or more of the global supply of that comes out of China as well. And this is a big concern for us because there is a specific date in the relatively near future where if this agreement isn't extended, then the pricing and the availability for those items could become a lot more hairy. And when it comes to how much manufacturers here in the U.S. have on hand, at least for antimony, we're talking about months, not years. So, y'all, I'm not saying that ammo is going to be like sold out at Bass Pro tomorrow or anything ridiculous like that. But if you're able to and you have some funds, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and get some because, really, even if this thing does get extended, the price on ammo is always just going to be steadily climbing up, with some spikes here and there. So if you have it and it's relatively inexpensive-ish, then, go ahead and keep adding it to your stash. Then after that, we have a few different kinds of technology, starting with brushless power tools, electric chainsaws, and anything else that uses neodymium magnets. And the big issue with this is, once again, China. They control around 70% of rare earth mining and around 90% of global rare earth processing. So they're sort of a gatekeeper. And their expanded export controls on those are paused only until like November 10th of this year. So there's kind of an expiration date with these as well. And there's already been some major companies that are feeling the effects of all this, like Ford and some automakers last year. They actually cut production because of magnet shortages. So this is important for us because things like power tools, drills, saws, they're important during storm season because you're going to need to do things like board up windows. You might have to make repairs after a storm comes through and messes everything up. Then there's also alternators, like if that craps the bed in your car, you're going to have that replaced. And then other things like wind turbine generators. Basically, anything that uses a high coercivity magnet could be affected by this. Then along those same lines, we have 12-volt fans, DC powered pumps, and small electric motors, because the same rare earth magnets that are used to produce power tools are used in these as well. And considering that we're coming up to warmer, kind of rainier months, they become really important, because if there's like a power outage in June, you're going to want a fan to get through that. Or if you live in an area that's prone to flooding, or just your property holds more water than it should, or it needs help with drainage, then things like sump pumps, or if you have a well pumps, those are important to have. And if something breaks down, then repairing it or replacing it could become a lot more expensive. Then after that, we have lithium batteries, and when most people think of these, they usually picture something like a big honking solar power station, but it can include other things like 18650 and 21700 cells, power banks, and even power tool batteries. And China's a big part of this as well. They dominate global manufacturing for those cells, and they also have a big hand in graphite supply. Then another issue with these is the end of duty-free de minimis imports, and basically that's just a fancy way of saying that little relatively inexpensive items that used to come into the country for free are now subject to tariffs as well. So that's going to drive the price up on those. And these are important for us because even if a battery is considered to be rechargeable, it's still technically a consumable. I'm sure that we've all had a flashlight that came with like a rechargeable battery or something that the battery ended up degrading over time. That just happens. So if you have, say, a rechargeable lantern or a power tool battery or anything like that that's not holding a charge nearly as long as it used to, that's something that you might want to look at replacing pretty soon. Then after that, we have some specific storm prep items, starting with chainsaws and items that you need to keep them running. Hurricane season literally starts on June 1st, so that's coming up quick, and also situations like in Iran and also with tariffs are driving up the prices of outdoor power equipment, including chainsaws. But a lot of the times the issue isn't with somebody like not having a chainsaw, it's that they don't have the things that they need to keep it running long term. That can include extra chains, oil, pre-mixed fuel, air filter, spark plugs, all those extra things. A lot of the times it's better to have a chainsaw that works, that's good, and all of your support equipment than it is to have like up to a dozen different chainsaws that you can't support. So if you have a chainsaw, be sure you have what you need to keep it running. And then also the same goes for generators as well. Then after that, we have storm repair materials like plywood, OSB, tarps, fasteners, and tape. And a big issue with these is that all of this kind of stuff like lumber, steel, aluminum, and copper are all being hit by tariffs. And to make things worse, the April 2nd, 2026 Section 232 proclamation now applies tariffs to the full customs value of steel, aluminum, and copper articles, not just the metal portion. And as we all know, if you live in a storm-prone area, the second that people hear that something's rolling in, they're going to go wipe out the hardware store. So now's a good time to go ahead and get what you need so you don't deal with just panic-driven shortages and also higher prices. One thing I would recommend doing, especially if you plan on boarding up your windows, is to get that plywood and then go ahead and cut it down. That way, you're one step closer to being able to get out of town when you need to, and you're not having just these gigantic stacks of 4x8 sheets of plywood either taking up all the space in your garage or making the exterior of your home look like some sort of dilapidated crack house. Then along those same lines, there's also steel hand tools like axes, shovels, and even premium knives. And that same Section 232 proclamation that I mentioned a second ago is affecting these kinds of items as well. So that includes stuff like silky saws, also your fancy high-end, like Swedish axes and stuff like that people love to get, that they may use like 2 or 3 times. But it could also include cheaper stuff, like little Mora knives and stuff. I can't say for certain, but I mean, it is possible that the $20 Mora knife could eventually become a thing of the past. So you might want to go ahead and get those. And what's nice about these is that many times they are a one-time purchase, because a lot of these imported saws, knives, and other tools, they're very high quality and they'll last you for years. Then after that, we have leather work boots. The Yale Budget Lab projects that leather goods will stay about 22% elevated for another 1 or 2 years. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. First off, there's tariffs on places like China and India and Italy. They're all hitting at the same time. And then also, there's the fact that the U.S. cattle herd is very, very low right now. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But kind of like with those tools, if you say you work in the trades and you need some high quality leather footwear, then go ahead and get what you need because chances are it'll last you for years. Then another thing you may want to pick up before June is certain food items, starting with beef. The U.S. cattle herd is at 86.2 million head, which is the lowest since 1951. And I can tell you, without even looking up numbers or anything like that, the U.S. population now is a whole lot bigger than it was back in the 50s. And that's just a supply and demand issue. And the American Farm Bureau says that the herd isn't going to be able to expand meaningfully at least until 2028. Then to make things worse, the US-Mexico border's been closed to live cattle since July 2025 because of the New World screwworm. So there's a whole lot going against beef right now. And the problem with that is that it isn't just some sort of temporary short-term price spike. It's kind of a structural issue that's going to continue to last going forward. So if you're wanting to pick up things like, canned Keystone beef, if you're wanting to pick up freeze-dry beef, or even freeze-dry meals that have beef in them, you might want to go ahead and do that. Then after that, we have one that's a bit different, and that's pistachios. And the issue with this is the conflict in the Middle East. Iran is the #2 supplier of pistachios worldwide. And what's going on right now over there is obviously going to cause issues with that. I know that this isn't an item that every prepper stockpiles or anything like that, but it is very calorie dense, and if you can get it in good nitrogen flushed packaging, then it can last for around 12 to 18 months in storage. And then finally, we have mason jar lids and other home canning supplies. Thankfully, the 2020 to 2022 lid shortage has eased, but Newell Brands discontinued Golden Harvest in 2025. And then, of course, there's also steel and aluminum tariffs that we're having to mess with. Right now, I think premium US-made lids are running around 50 to 75 cents in bulk. And that's obviously important for us, mainly if you're somebody who cans, you want to preserve food from your vegetable garden, you want to preserve food that was on sale at Walmart or the grocery store. So if that's something that you use, then maybe go ahead and get a year's worth of a buffer supply. Now, obviously, these aren't the only food items that preppers should be stockpiling based on all the craziness going on in the world. So if you want to see 8 food items that preppers should be buying now, then click here. Or if you want to see a video over some kind of weird survival items that you can use when you have absolutely no other options, then click here. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.